Hello and welcome to another edition of ChinnyVision. This time we're taking a trip to the Wild West. As if I needed to establish Kane's credentials as a budget game, it sold 250,000 copies across all the formats it was released on and was a Mastertronic's 11th best-selling title of all time. I first came across it on the Amstrad CPC, although it's a game that originated on the Commodore 64, but I thought it's best to start off on the version I'm most familiar with. Game loads up and you've got the option to start or practice any of the levels that are in the game. There's 4 levels as we're going to see. So the first level here, what you have to do is shoot the birds. And when you've shot a certain amount of birds, you get an extra life. We have no lives at the moment because you trade the birds for lives with the Indian village you can see in the distance there. Just a question of timing really. Just getting the trajectory of your bow and arrow correct. If you hit a bird, you get the arrow back. If not, you lose the arrow. You can see the amount of arrows on the top of the screen there. You can also see the amount of birds you've killed and the amount of birds that have escaped. Missed there. It's just a question of timing. It's easier to hit the birds on the right-hand side, and you can see a little icon has appeared in the status screen up there that told me I've got 1 life. And just fast forwarded and now we're on to 4 lives. When that bottom row of birdies on the right hand side at the top fills up, that's it. So I'm doing quite well here considering I haven't played this game for years and years and years. I've got 5 lives for my ride to Kane and the subsequent levels, 6 up to 6 now. Doing quite well here. So, what we now have to do is ride to the town of Kane. Again, the music from the menu screen's back. Just a question of timing here, really. It's not too difficult. You've just got to make sure you've got enough speed and you just press fire to jump at the right time to go over the bushes and the rocks and the other things that you come across. And the mileage in top left-hand corner counts down. It's fairly quick, this level. And now we arrive in Kane itself. And it's a question of shooting however many baddies you can see on the top right hand side. There's 15 or so baddies shoot, and they appear and they shoot back. So I've just got I've hit one there. This level's a little bit more difficult. You can lose lives fairly easy. I've lost a couple here. It's over fairly quickly, and now on to the final level where you've got to stop the train. This game is quite brief. That went wrong there, so I'm going to try that again. Just see if I can just time that there. And there we go, off we go. Now, one problem with this level is you do get little funny jumps like that. And it's a question of memorising where they are, because by the time they've appeared on the left-hand side of the screen, there's not enough time to clear that. Oh, I didn't clear it. Oh dear. So Kane on the CPC, yes, it's a fairly polished version of the game. Decent graphics for a budget game of the time. The magazines at the time like this, Amstrad Computer User, were quite impressed. So over to the Commodore 64, which is, as I say, I suspect is the original version. Same music as the Amstrad version, except a much nicer rendition. And it's the same as the Amstrad version. You can see the same graphics, and it's the same deal. Shoot the birds in order to gain lives for your ride to Kane. The physics on the bow and arrow are slightly different, not significantly, I have to say. And the birds fall nicer. They get faster as they fall down. A little bit nicer animation than the Amstrad version. Got 1 life there. I fast forwarded it again there because essentially this game is effectively the same as the Amstrad version. So we've got 3 lives for our ride to Kane, so hopefully this should be fairly straightforward. So off we go. Try and get a bit of, seems to be less of a run up there on that bush. I can't move actually more that way. Oh, right. No, that wasn't a... I should have gone back. Right, let's go back and try again. No. Right, what's going on with this Commodore 64 version? Let's try again. Right, okay. Oh, no. Oh. Right, try again. What is wrong with this jumping? It seems to be far more pixel perfect than the Amstrad version. Off we go. Oh, dear. Right, I'm going to use the practice mode to go and do some shooting in Kane itself, I think, just to see what that looks like. Right, so here we are, essentially the same as the Amstrad version. A little bit faster. Just a question of just lining up and shooting them. Moving around, let's see if I can get him. No, didn't get him. I think, am I out of ammo? If you run to the right hand side, you get more ammo. Just a question of finishing them all off. Oh no, I've been hit. Problem with the practice mode is you only get one life, so that's it. It's a nice game, perhaps it's the timing and the capture delay that I'm having problems with, but the horse riding levels seem incredibly difficult on the Commodore 64 version. So across to the Spectrum version, and it's very similar again to the first two versions that we've seen, except this initial screen here, this first level, suffers from horrible colour clash on the birds. Watch the birds going left to right, they turn to green, then black. Then as they go onto the purple, they disappear, and then back onto the green again, they also disappear. Which is a bit of a pain when you're trying to shoot them in those areas, because they just momentarily vanish. Okay, the speed and course they're following always remains the same, but it's slightly distracting when they disappear. Onto the riding level, and this is much more like the Amstrad version, it's just much more forgiving on the jumping, and considering some of the jumps are practically pixel perfect, that's welcome relief from the Commodore 64 version we've just seen. Nice animation on the horse here, fairly basic graphics, but very playable. And on to the town scene. And unfortunately the colours on the Spectrum make seeing some of the baddies, as well in the saloon over there, quite difficult because of the colour clash. They are appearing as red against red buildings. And that guy over there's got a red head and a black body. So that's one annoying thing about the Spectrum version. And onto the riding level. Oh dear, no, I forgot about that. Right, take two there. Just try again. Slow. And then speed up. And this comes back to that, having to remember on this level what comes where. And the idea is you're running so fast you can overtake the train and you stop it. And it can be done because I have done it in the past. But it's such a test of memory. And there you go, there. You have to remember to slow down, otherwise you're not going to get enough warning to do it if the first time you see it is actually when you need to do it, if you see what I mean. On the Spectrum it's a solid conversion. Shame about the colour clash in things disappearing and the little men not being able to be seen, but not a bad port. Now this game was quite rare for a Mastertronic game because it was ported to the BBC Micro and also runs on the Electron. So let's see what's got in store for us. Tune running constantly in the background. Apparently the man's wearing a top hat or a bowler hat or something, and the animation on the birds are very basic. I've had one previous go on this version and it's left a yellow line at the top left hand side of the screen there, which is a bit strange. Hopefully that's just a minor glitch. This does slightly have the feel of a game that is possibly written in BASIC, or at least it's very slow, and the speed of the bird seems to change depending on what's going on. Perhaps it is machine code, I don't know. And the status screen at the bottom is quite ugly as well. No nice icons like the other versions. Your score or the lives you've got is a block and a... Oh no, you see there's another glitch there. That's just done that. And put a line in. There's also another glitch down by my player sprite. There's something weird going on here. And that's left something else. Yeah. Not very polished, but hey, we've got the horse riding level to look forward to. Oh, no horse riding section. Right. Very basic graphics here compared to the other versions on this level. I'm guessing this game is actually aimed at the Electron. And the animation on my player sprite is pretty awful. He's slow to move and he flickers. Very slow to respond. Oh, no, I've been shot. So I'm guessing the horse riding levels have been cut out of this version in order to fit it onto the Electron. It's all just a little bit ugly and very basic, and it removes one of the most fun aspects of Kane, i.e. the horse riding section. Effectively, on the BBC and the Electron, all you're getting are very basic and cut down versions of the shooting sections of the game and none of the fun sections with the horse riding. So, Kane, on the Amstrad, Commodore 64 and the Spectrum, well, it's hard to choose between them really. They're all good versions of the game, they're all playable, they all suffer from the same problem because ultimately there's only 5 minutes of gameplay there. But it's good, it's fun. As a budget game, when I first got it, I enjoyed it and I played it a few times, and I guess that's all we really wanted from it back in the day. And if you're going to revisit it, you're probably going to get 15 minutes of gameplay out of it if you play it through a few times. Now, the BBC Micro version, unfortunately, is so cut down and so slow and generally just quite bad that it doesn't really live up to the expectations set by the other versions. Because Kane sold so many copies and was fairly highly acclaimed in the day, to the extent of at least getting a sequel for the Commodore 64, it is a game worth playing and owning if you've got an Amstrad, a Spectrum or a Commodore 64. On the BBC Micro, I'm afraid it's a bit of a loser.